In November of 2017, I was working my job as a dishwasher in a local pizza place when I was trying to carry one of the trays of old plates and food and stuff from one side of the dish pit. I slipped, hit a puddle of water. The freaking plates go flying in the air. The food goes flying in the air. I hit the ground. The plates come down around me. Pizza, burgers, desserts, and stuff fall all over my face. It hits me in my mouth. People's food, wet, soggy food, hits me in my mouth, and I'm just sitting on the floor and I'm literally just disgusted about the situation I'm in. People come back and they see me on the ground covered in food, surrounded by broken plates. And I genuinely sat there and thought, if this is what my life is going to be like, I am literally not willing to live it. And I didn't mean that in the way of like, I'm going to do something crazy to myself, but more in the sense that I am so willing to never grab that pizza out this wet sink again that I will do anything it takes to change. And over the last 8 years since that day, I've been able to make over $5 million through a couple of different avenues that I figured I would tell you all about today. Every day on this channel for the last 5 years, I've posted videos about crypto and stocks and personal finance, but I've realized I've never told you the story. I've never really told you from day one what has happened and how I was able to do it. And I figured today was the day that I do that. And I don't tell you this story in order for you to think I'm cool, because truth be told, having money doesn't make you cool. Matter of fact, some of the biggest losers I've ever met in life are the people who win the most financially. Being cool doesn't, it doesn't come with a certain amount of success. So my goal isn't that, but more to show you that realistically, I'm not really all that different. I'm not very special. I wouldn't even really say I'm all that talented. I'm just a guy who had a little bit of luck, a little bit of opportunity that was there every day. And I hope this story encourages many of you to go out there and get it yourselves. So we're going to start the story back in 2001. I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I lived in a town called Berwick, Louisiana. And over the first like 9 or 10 years of my life, I honestly lived a pretty normal life. I was a Call of Duty kid. I was a Minecraft kid. I was just a little chubby bucktooth kid that liked to play video games, hang out with people if I could, just went to school, got in trouble. Well, I didn't really like school all that much. So I got in trouble a little bit, but very normal beginnings. I lived with my mom. My dad lived just about an hour away, so he was always really close. My sister lived with us. She was a standout athlete. We lived right next door from my grandparents. So we lived in a nice little small southern Louisiana community. And if you've ever been to the southern United States, it's a great community to be in. You have your disputes, you have your feuds here and there, but truthfully, it is a great place to be. And I really did enjoy it. You got your crawfish boils, you could go fishing. We had hurricanes, which I was always intrigued by. It was always a good time. And the kind of the family dynamic that you get from not just your family, but the community around you was always fantastic. And I loved it a lot. But after the first 9 or 10 years, things did start to change a little bit. And I would say change for the worse. The town started to change a little bit. Dynamics started to change a little bit. We're getting close to 2010, so the world was just becoming a little bit different. And at that time, I also started to develop a little bit in the worst way. My teeth got a little bigger, my weight got a little higher. And because of that, I'm not going to say I got bullied like, the Pennywise movies level of bullying, but I definitely had my rougher end of the stick here and there, right? And because of that, I got into some situations. I got into some fights, most of which didn't go my way. And I had some tough times at school. Now, because of this, my mom decided, like, hey, she could tell I was struggling with insecurities. She could tell that I was just struggling in general. And she wanted to give me something to love. I always wanted to play basketball because my father was in the NBA for a very short time before he went over to Spain and played basketball there. And my sister was very good at basketball at the time. So I always wanted to play basketball, but I never really loved it. I didn't really find that I was naturally good at it. And so it turned me off from ever thinking that I could be good at it in general. And because of that, I just didn't love it. And my mom was like, I want to give him something to love. And so I was always obsessed with the UFC. I loved watching the UFC. Tito Ortiz and Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz and Chris Lieben, all those guys at the time, Chuck Liddell, like Anderson Silva. I always loved them. And she was like, you know what? We're going to put him into martial arts. And so she started me at a place called Louisiana Black Belt Academy, which was just a martial arts gym where I started taking karate and jujitsu at 10 years old. And over the next couple of years, from 10 years old to 13 years old, I really found a love for it that I couldn't describe with words. It was something that not only made my life feel worth living, but it gave me something to be excited about. And those were things that I really struggled with in a small town at that time. And it was fully transformational. So as I turned about 13, I was still playing basketball in middle school and stuff like that. Again, I just wasn't very good at it. And so I turned my attention almost completely on training. I wasn't really focused in school. I wasn't really focused on anything else except for training, at which point we moved to Lafayette. Because what happened was that I was so focused on training and I cared so much about, being a fighter, doing whatever that I just didn't perform very well in other avenues. The city was just too small. I didn't have anything to distract me. I mean, it was literally just fighting and nothing else. And because of that, my mom wanted to put me in a place where I had just more opportunities, whether it be through fighting or whether it be through life in general. But she didn't want me to grow up in a place just focused on this one thing and not loving anything else about life. And so at 14 years old, 13/14, she moved me to Lafayette, Louisiana. And that's when everything started to change for me. Started going through puberty, started getting a little bit taller, started to get a little bit stronger. I found an MMA gym out here, which I absolutely fell in love with. And I was training every day, doing Muay Thai, doing jujitsu. And I really found like I was really finding my stride. Now, funnily enough, and this little side tangent is going to make sense in a little while here, but funnily enough, as we moved to Lafayette, Louisiana, I also started playing a game called Minecraft Factions. Now, super long story short, but Minecraft Factions is a game where you and groups of people go raid other groups of people. You can build bases, you can make money. I mean, I really loved it. Now, I didn't love it for the raiding, I didn't love it for the fighting, I didn't really care about any of that. Even the social dynamic, I couldn't really care less about it. What I liked in that game was making money. And every single day, every week, honestly, I was there 2, 3 hours a day, just getting on that game, trying to make as much money as possible. And that's really what started my love for money, which I'll dive into a little bit more in a little while here. But all in all, I mean, the first year of high school for me, I was 14 at the time, going into high school was great. I really liked it a lot. Again, I felt like I truly had a meaning. I had a purpose. I was really close to my dad. We were building up a very close relationship at the time because we had always been close. But I feel like at that point when we really got close and life was really starting to go my way. Now, going into the next year, going into 10th grade, things did start to get a little bit rough again. I found myself hanging out with the wrong groups of people. More for the reason that I just didn't exactly know where I fit in. Like life felt great in training, life felt great at home. I'm playing this game, but I didn't really find like I had that group of people that I wanted to truly be with. You know what I mean? Like there was a group of people that went to our school and they were the gift. I was in the gifted program as well, but they were like the gifted group, right? They're the group that always had it going on, and I always wanted to be a part of that group. Like I always wanted to be one of them and hang out with them and get invited to places that they went to, and they had these little gifted parties. I never really was invited, and because of that, I mean, my whole first year of high school, I just wanted to be a part of that group. And I tried to force my way in many capacities, like we all do. Um, but it never really worked and it never really sticked. And it felt very inauthentic. And although some of them talked to me, I know it was more just because I was funny. Like I was a funny kid and not so much that they cared about me. And so as I came to that realization, I really overcorrected. And I started hanging out with people who were, involved with crazy, crazy things. Now, also at the time, unfortunately, one of my best friends at the gym that I trained at, Keelan Simmons, passed away. And this was a huge hit for me because I didn't really understand how to grasp that concept. Like he was there yesterday, now he's gone today. It doesn't make sense. And so I started to spiral really hard. And I started to go down a really bad path. I wasn't really even training that much. I wasn't trying in school anymore, but I was doing one thing, and that was playing Minecraft Factions. And it's so funny that I think about this because this game about blocks is what got me through this terrible, terrible time in my life. And so at the time, I'm playing Minecraft Factions, and as I'm doing that, I'm only focused on that. I just couldn't care less about anything. It was my escape from reality, right? And I was playing it every day, and I came to realize, like, hey, I'm kind of good at this money making thing. Like, I was hustling and grinding 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm only 15 years old, 15, almost 16 years old at the time, and I'm playing this game every single day, just hustling on it. And what was cool about it was that at the time, it started to kind of pop up like the IRL trading thing where you could like hustle up a CSGO account or a Minecraft account and sell it to someone in real life and make money for it, real life money. And so I started to do that. I started hustling and grinding, making as much money, building up these accounts on Minecraft Factions, going to Discord or going through Reddit or whatever it may be. I don't even know if it was Reddit. I don't think there was Reddit then. But I would sell them off, maybe 4chan. Anyway, I would sell them off and I make $10, $15, $100 here and there. And I was really into it. So I'm just making a whole like decent money, like $200 a week, which isn't the most, but you get it. Like I was really hustling at the time. And what was so fun about it was that I was also very into art, which I know I haven't mentioned before, but I was an art kid. I really like drawing and painting. And so while we were on summer between sophomore year and junior year, I started actually trying new forms of art just because I was bored and I found spray painting. But if you know anything about spray painting, it can get a little bit expensive, right? Because you're using spray paint, you need canvases, you need all of these different tools. And so what I would do is I would take the money that I was making from Minecraft Factions and I would invest that money into buying cans of spray paint and whatever it may be to create paintings, go on Instagram, go on Snapchat or whatever, and go sell them to people at my school or in surrounding areas or whatever. And I had this really cool little ecosystem going on in the summer between sophomore year and junior year where I'm doing this. So maybe I saved up like $2,000 or $2,500. And don't get me wrong, I spent most of what I made. I made way more than that, but I just spent it because I just didn't care. And we went to school the next year. So junior year starts. Now, when junior year starts, I didn't have as much time to play factions and I didn't have as much time to play I didn't have as much time to play factions, and I also didn't have as much time to do the spray paint art. So I needed to figure something out. I'm like, how am I going to make money while I'm at school? I'm like, well, I just need to sell kids something. Obviously, I have money. I can spend this money to make some more money, which I already started to understand how that dynamic worked. And so I was like, well, candy is great. So I get home one day before I went to training because I started to slowly get back into training my junior year. And I was like, Mom, I need to get some candy. She was like, well, we can go to Costco and you can get like boxes of candy for cheap. I was like, great. So my mom paid for the Costco membership and we went and we would get these big boxes of Skittles, bro. I'm talking like these ones that look like this, like the little ones, but you can buy so many of them. You can buy them at like 50 cents per unit, right? And so I'm like, this is great. So what I did is I got them at 50 cents a unit, a little bit more after taxes. And I would go to school with two backpacks. One backpack with my normal stuff, the other backpack with all this big bag of Skittles. And I would sell them like crazy, two for two, three for two, five, 250, like whatever. I was making money though. And I did this really for like 3 months straight, made another $1,000, $2,000. I maybe had like $4,000 or $5,000 saved up by the middle of junior year. And so I'm really like, I have this little thing going on. I'm doing spray painting and Minecraft factions. I'm selling Skittles. I'm saving up $4,000 or $5,000. And truth be told, I wasn't saving this money just because I loved having the money. I didn't know why I was doing it, to be honest. I had no really like real reason as to why I was trying to make money. I just was making money. It was just cool. I don't know. I wish I could tell you, I always knew I wanted to be an investor. No, I just did it because I liked it. It's like with Minecraft factions. I just liked making money in the game, and I turned that into a real life passion as well, just like making money in real life. Well, going into the end of going into like the middle of junior year, I was 16 at the time, and I got so let me go back a little bit because Dr. Thornton, our principal at Lafayette High, he caught me selling Skittles. He told me to stop. I didn't stop. I got suspended. Blah blah blah. So I couldn't do that. I didn't have time to play Minecraft factions to hustle up accounts because things were getting like super cracked back then. It was super annoying, and then I didn't really have much time nor want to do spray paintings. So it's like I didn't really have a way to make money. So I talked to my mom and she got me a job at a pizza place called Dino's Pizza here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And what I was doing, I was just a dishwasher. I'd get paid $8 an hour to clean dishes and wash dishes. This is in 2017. And I actually enjoyed it a little bit at first, like first few months. This is towards the end of my junior year. I did kind of enjoy it because there was something to just like standing in the back. I'm making money and I'm just spraying stuff down. Like I could get used to that because I had been working for it previous. Like I had been hustling for it. I'm grinding up these accounts or selling candy or whatever it may be. Like I'm really grinding up for this money. So if I just got to stand back here and wash off some dishes, I thought that was great. Like, this is easy. But truth be told, as time went on, I started to recognize that it just wasn't the life for me. I didn't enjoy it. And after about 3 months, I came to realize, like, no, I'm not living my life this way. And it wasn't because what I did was bad or the people who I worked with was bad. I actually really enjoyed the people that I worked with. But the problem was that I didn't have creative freedom. There was nothing, I couldn't come up with ideas or solutions. I couldn't grow it. I couldn't shrink it. I couldn't do anything. It was a flat, fixed thing that I was just stuck on every day, did the same thing every single day. And one day while I was there, I had my hands about 2 feet deep, just in a sink full of nasty guck water. And again, I went to try to pull that drain out and I pulled out this massive piece of eaten pizza with moldy cheese. I mean, it was a gross moment. And I was like, I'm not living my life this way. So I go back home that night and I'm brainstorming, okay, how am I going to do this? There has to be a way that I can get out of this. And I knew that if I was going to find my way out of a situation that I just wasn't happy in, that it had to be me. I had grew up with a great mom, a great dad, a great family, don't get me wrong, but I was a very independent man or young man at like 14. Once I turned about 14, I became very independent. I just was like, you know what? I can do it. Whatever it needs, I can do it. I got it. And so I was like, you know what? I have to work my way out of this. I have to get out of this situation that I'm in right now. And so I started brainstorming like, okay, what can I do to get myself out of this situation? And I really only had two options. I had been training pretty consistently at that point. I was getting pretty good at fighting. So I was like, okay, fighting is probably the way that I'm going to go. Like, if I can get to the UFC, get like, get on some Dustin Poirier stuff, I could probably make some good money and I'll have some creative freedom because I can fight when I want to fight or whatever. Or I'm going to have to try to figure out like how to, open a candy business. And I'm thinking like, all right, I need to do a vending machine. And, I'm having those sorts of thoughts. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on fighting, try to make money from fighting, and take that money and invest it into a vending machine business. This was what I had. I was 16, by the way. But I genuinely believe like that's what I'm going to do. So now I upped it. Right. I started training a ton. I was going to training in the morning, going before school, going at night, after school, in between my job shifts. I mean, I was training like a madman and I was actually starting to get pretty good. Matter of fact, I started to have these things called smoker matches, which is like an amateur, okay, so it goes pro, amateur, smoker matches, right? So it's not amateur yet, but it was right before that level. And I was doing pretty well. Matter of fact, I had 9 of them and I won 8 of them and only lost 1 of them. So I was actually starting to gain a little bit of traction up until the point that going into my senior year, I actually started to get sponsors. And so what would happen is that anytime I would do these smoker fights or whatever, people would sponsor me. Like they would give me $20 or $50 or $100 and I can give them little shout outs or whatever it may be. And so it opened my eyes up to like, hey, if I fight good, I can make some pretty decent money here. And so I started doing these fights, and I've probably saved up $6,000, $7,000 at this point. And I'm doing these fights, and I'm collecting some sponsorship revenue, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to open a vending machine business. There was a girl I was in school with named Maddie at the time, shout out to her, and her grandpa owned a huge conglomerate of vending machine businesses, and she's telling me about how they work and stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. Well, one day when I get home, again, this is the end of 2017. Or maybe, yeah, beginning of 2018, maybe. Anyway, so I get home one day and I go on YouTube and I type in investing in vending machines, but nothing popped up because I guess it just hadn't really caught that much traction yet. But I guess because I typed in the word investing, a dude's video popped up about what was called dividend investing. I'm like, what is dividend investing? So I go click on the YouTube video and I'm watching it. And in the video, he's telling me like, yeah, you can take your money, you can buy these stocks of companies, like shares in a company, and when you do that, if the share goes up in value, then you generate money. But then also that company will just pay you money, like they'll just give it to you. And I'm like, what? Like if I literally just give them money, they'll just give me money back. There's no way. So I'm deep in it now. I'm really on it at this point. I'm like, this cannot be real. Turns out it is real. So I'm like, okay, great. How do I do this? So I start finding YouTubers and I'm really deep in the rabbit hole. And yeah, this was 2018 and I'm going in. Like I'm really, really like, all right, I'm down for this. So I open up a M1 Finance account using my mom's name. Shout out to her, made it possible for me. But I opened up an M1 Finance account at the time, and I was starting to buy some stuff like Stack Industrial, like some of these stocks that I thought made sense. Now, the only reason I thought they made sense, truth be told, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just copying what this YouTuber did. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did that. Now, another thing he also owned was something called Bitcoin, and he said that Bitcoin was going to be more valuable than dollars one day. And I was like, well, if I'm investing dollars into stocks, what if I invested dollars into Bitcoin instead of having my dollars really? So like I could have like a hedge is what he called it. I didn't know. I just did it. I was like, cool. So I bought like $150, $200 worth of Bitcoin. Okay. It was not a lot at all, but I did have a little bit of Bitcoin. Completely forgot I had it, by the way. I didn't even really understand how I got it because I had to get this wallet. Then I had to download some like really scammy stuff. It was getting Bitcoin back in the day could be confusing. And so anyway, now I have, $2,500, $2,000 or so maybe invested into the stock market. And I have about $300 invested into Bitcoin. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just let that cook for a little while. I don't know really what's gonna happen, so I'm just leave it alone. So throughout the whole year of 2018, I'm really not even touching it. It's just there, and I'm really focused on fighting. Like I'm all in on fighting. I'm starting to get a little bit older. I'm starting to get a little bit stronger, and I'm really starting to get better. And going into 2019 is where stuff really started to spiral fast. I graduated from high school in 2019. I actually had graduated with a 4.2 GPA, which qualified me as one of the valedictorian sorts of things at the school or whatever. And it was a really cool experience. I won class clown, I guess. I started to hang out with the right sort of people right? Like in the last year of crypto, I found like a great friend group, Aaron Baker, and a couple other people that I genuinely felt like understood me, and so things were really going well for me. I mean, it was really awesome, and it felt like okay, life could be good. Life could be a dream, I guess. And so going into 2019, this is where stuff starts to move fast. So excuse me if I get a little bit jumbled here, but going into 2019, we had we had the opportunity to start doing some amateur kickboxing fights. And so now it wasn't so much where I'm just doing smoker fights. Now I'm doing like more real tournaments and amateur kickboxing fights as well. And so I'm really doing that at the same time that I quit my job at the pizza place because again, I just didn't want to be in that environment anymore. And I started working at a place called Buckle. So all of this will come together in a second here. Don't worry. I know I'm all over the place, but just give me a second. So I'm started working at this place named Buckle. I'm doing amateur kickboxing fights, and my investment portfolio didn't grow that much, but it was up a little bit. Like I maybe made $400 off that 2000 I put in. So I was up like 20, 25%, which felt really good. And so I'm starting to kind of gain some traction, to gain some momentum. Well, as we push into about May of 2019, I started to really find myself in all of these different places. I'm working at, as I mentioned, Buckle. I'm learning sales. I'm selling jeans to all of these customers who would work in. I would learn how to sell jeans. I would sell them shirts or shoes or watches. I mean, whatever. And I'm starting to actually get good at it. And one of the coolest parts about that job was that anything that I sold, I got to keep a piece of. And that was 3%, which is minimal these days. Obviously, if you look at that in comparison to how much I made them, but still, it was great. And I knew like every customer who comes in that door, if I can sell them some jeans, if I can sell them some shirts or whatever it may be, I can make some money off of each one of those sales. So I'm understanding the process and I felt so much more free. I felt like I did when I was selling candy. I felt like I did when I was playing Minecraft because I had control over if I had a good day or a bad day. And what was cool about it is I had a base. So I'm gonna get paid every hour, but I can make more or less depending on how hard I worked. And so the whole concept of sales, the whole concept of scaling as a result of sales really started to stick with me. Like, wow, I can make good money from doing this and I can make good money from fighting. And I thought I had the perfect formula: sales and fighting. If I just do those two things, I can infinitely scale this as far as humanly possible, which is what my brain thought at the time. And as I go in and I graduated from high school, I just went all in because like, all right, I got college in a couple months. I was going to the University of Lafayette in Louisiana. I was like, I have college in a few months. So I got this whole summer to really hustle, and boy, did I hustle. I'm making money from this job. I'm fighting. I'm like, I had an MMA fight at the time. I made like $2,500 from sponsors. I had it kind of going on. I had maybe 14 or $15,000 by the time that summer ended. And man, I felt like I was in a really, really great place in life, and I was in a great place in life. And so I was like, okay, how do I go from here? Right? Like, what's the next step for me? What do I do from here? And I was like, well, I'm going to go get a degree just in case, but I don't really want to. Like, I didn't really want to go to college, but it was like fighting may not work out, sales may not work out. So let me just go get a degree just in case. You know what I mean? Just in case I need a degree. And so I went to school for industrial design because remember, I always did the spray painting, I always did the drawings, I was in the art program at school. So it was just easy. I got into college based on art. It was easy. My portfolio was pretty solid. My art portfolio was pretty solid. They just let me in. So I had college going on, but again, I really wasn't focused on it. I wasn't trying very hard. I didn't really care about it. All I cared about was fighting, and all I cared about was sales. And anytime I made money from that, I was now starting to slowly throw some money into my investment account, which was now at the time was like maybe $4,000 worth. Maybe had like doubled by then. So fast forward basically a whole year throughout all of 2019 going into 2020, that's when like I just basically did the same thing. All of 2019, I basically did the same thing: fight, school, work, invest. Fight, school, work, invest. I just did it for a whole year straight, and I was on a really good flow at the time. Now, going into 2020, in January, I think it was January 27th, I had my very last MMA fight before the pandemic started. If you remember, in January was when like the rumblings kind of started about this pandemic, this weird thing going on, but no one really took it too serious, but we kind of heard about it. And so I was like, it's probably fine. We went to New Orleans, we had an MMA fight, but we were all aware that things were starting to get a little bit weird. Now, the cool part was that was the most that I had gotten paid from any MMA fight at that point, where I made $6,000 from that fight, from sponsors, ticket sales, and all of of that stuff. So at the time, I maybe got up to like $25,000. I think I'm either 19 or 20 years old. I was 19. I hadn't turned 20 yet. But yeah, I'm 19 years old at the time. And I'm like, I felt good about myself. I had a girlfriend at the time. I was working, I was investing, I was fighting, I was making money. Things were honestly feeling really, really good. And I felt like I was on top of the world. School was going okay. I had a great friend group. I'm going out partying and drinking and spending some of this money. I mean, for a 19-year-old, I felt like that guy, right? And then obviously 2 months later, the pandemic got really bad. That's when it started. And that it slapped me in the face really hard because for a short period of time, I couldn't train. I couldn't fight, obviously. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't. My investment portfolio dropped like a rock for like a week. If y'all remember this, for like the very beginning, it dropped like a week. I couldn't see my girlfriend because she lived in another town and we couldn't leave. I mean, it was bad. And not only did all of this happen, but I couldn't go to school either. So I couldn't go to school. I couldn't work. I couldn't train. I couldn't fight. I couldn't do anything. And you guys probably felt this if you were around back then, but it sucked. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to live my life? What am I supposed to do here? And I was like, well, what else? I mean, what? So the first week or two, whenever the pandemic started and we were kind of all in lockdown, I was just drawing a lot and painting a lot, watching movies. I would sneak out and go to my friends who were still around the city in college, and we would all hang out together. But there wasn't really much that we could do. And one day, out of this boredom that I was in, like, dude, I don't know what to do with my life because you guys know I get a little antsy. I was like, what if I just started making YouTube videos? And what sparked it was because at the time, now my investment portfolio was up a lot. My Bitcoin was up a lot. My investment portfolio was up a lot. Because remember, the pandemic, when the market fell during the pandemic, it didn't last very long. By summertime, things were going, like things were moving in a pretty solid direction. And I was watching and consuming a lot of videos on the stock market and stuff like that towards like this July, August, September-ish timeframe in 2020. And I was like, what if I just make a YouTube channel, like just talking about this and talking about what's going on and how things are being impacted and stuff like that? I mean, that'd be pretty cool. My stock market portfolio was like $7,000, $8,000 at the time. I was like, what if I just, what if I just talk about it? So I turned on a YouTube video, and you can still find that video on this channel today. And I just talked about my stock market portfolio. My YouTube channel is called My Stock Journey. And I talked about all of the things I was doing in my own portfolio. And I made 4 videos, one per day for 4 days straight. And after that 4th day, I made a decision. This is what I'm going to do. This is the thing for me. This is what I'm going to do. It checks all the boxes. Because what was interesting was that little did I know, as I was investing, as I was working, as I was training, as I was doing all of these things, I was building up a checklist of things that were non-negotiables that I wanted in my life. I quit my job at the pizza place because I had no creative freedom. I loved fighting because I had the ability to dictate if I performed well or if I performed poorly. I had all of these things that were non-negotiables in my life. I wanted free time. I wanted to be able to sit down, right? And look, I was a bit of a lazy piece of shit. I wanted to sit down when I wanted to sit down. And what was interesting is that through all of these jobs, I recognized the life that I wanted to build. And it was the life of someone who could do what they wanted, when they wanted, with very little and minimal restrictions, with creative freedom and the ability to make as much money in proportion to how hard they work. So if I want to work hard, I can make a lot. And if I don't work hard, I don't make anything. I was happy with that risk. And after 4 days of doing it on YouTube, I knew I was like, this is the thing that gives me that ability. I can make money from it. I didn't really know how much money, but it's like I can make money from it. I can do it where I want. I have creative freedom. There's progress in it because I always wanted to just get better. I always wanted to just grow and progress. And there was so much of all of that involved with YouTube. And so I doubled down, then I tripled down, then I quadrupled down. I was making content. Now, towards the end of 2020, we did go back to school, but we went back to school in a bit of a hybrid capacity. So, or no, this was fully online at the time, actually. So I was doing online school. Not gonna lie, guys, I didn't care. Like I couldn't care less about school at this point, and my grades really started to reflect that. Because if you're in the design program in a college, you need to be trying, and I was not trying, and I was not doing good. And in addition to that, I was kind of training because we could kind of go back and sneak into the gym, but I wasn't really training because it wasn't super formal, and I knew I wouldn't fight anytime soon anyway. So like, I'm just gonna make YouTube videos. And going into February of 2021, I was just hustling out that YouTube content. And matter of fact, 1 month before that, in January, actually, is when I ended up getting monetized on YouTube. So what was cool about January of 2021, yeah, I got monetized on YouTube, and I had got paid my very first dollar. And what was funny about it was that at the time that I got paid this very first dollar on YouTube, I was um I was in a dorm at one of the craziest parties I'd ever been to. This was the first party back from the pandemic. So we were all there. I mean, it was wild. Every wild thing you could imagine going on. And we're there. And I got a notification from YouTube about 7 p.m. Because if y'all remember, you wouldn't get that like that payment update of how much money you made that previous day until like that night. And so I got the notification. I was like, what is that? And so I went looking. It said I had made like $1 or like $7 or something like that. And I was like, oh, yep, there it is. There's the proof. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted proof that I can make money from YouTube because I had been doing it at this point for nearly a year and I hadn't made $1 from it. Right. And so I'm like, this is it. This is the moment. I mean, I just made $1 from doing something new. I mean, I can do it. So I left that dorm. I was there with a girl, left that dorm, left the girl, left my friends, left everyone. I went home, started making more YouTube videos. And I increased production to 2 or 3 YouTube videos every single day. And what was awesome is that this time in 2021, my portfolio was sending. Like it had went from maybe like 8 grand that I had invested. I mean, at the time, I probably had like almost $25,000 invested. I probably had another 10,000 in cash. I probably had like 35, 40 grand at this point, purely just because for the last 6 years, 5 years, I had just been working, investing. And I just did it over and over and over again for a long amount of time, 6 years. For me, at 20 something years old or almost 20 years old, I just turned 20 almost. Like, that was a lot of money. And so this is where it all starts to change. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this phase 2 of life. We've been in phase 1. This is phase 2. So went from school, bullying, martial arts, whatever. This is in phase 2. So phase 2 starts off with an MMA fight that I had in March of 2021. In this fight, I went fight a college. It was a college state champion or something. I don't know how wrestling works. Listen, I don't like wrestling. But I fought a guy who wrestled in college. He had some state championships, right? And I went in there as the young kid, 3 wins, 0 losses. He had 3 wins and only 1 loss. His 1 loss was to a really good guy. So this was a highly touted matchup at the amateur level, co-main event of the night, 2,000 people in the crowd. Like, it was a big fight out in Jackson, Mississippi. And I go out there, and about 15 seconds into the fight, I completely tear my meniscus and I completely strain my MCL and LCL. 15 seconds into the fight. Somehow, I pushed through the fight and somehow ended up winning the fight, which was a bit of a controversial decision, right? Some people say I won, some people say I lost. I'm fine with either one. But it forced me out of the game again. So not only I just got through this pandemic, I had just got back into fighting, but now I just took this terrible injury that's going to put me out for 6 months and now I can't fight again. Not only can I not fight, can't walk, can't work, can't really do much. And I could help at work, but I couldn't really work. I couldn't sell. I couldn't do what I do. I couldn't be Tyler Hill on that sales floor. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, well, gladly, what do you not have to do when you're making YouTube videos? You don't got to stand, you don't got to walk, you just sit. So I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm just going to have to focus on. And so in March and April, I just went in 6 weeks, just hard pushing, just pushing out content, 3-4 videos every day. I had a Patreon that I had created where I was dropping my videos early. That was maybe making about $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Work was making about $1,000 a month. Fighting, I would make about $4 or $5 a fight, but I couldn't fight. So I'm making like $3,000 a month at this time. And everything happened. Going into March of 2021, about February/March of 2021, I had already been really looking at the crypto market again. Like, oh, this is great. My Bitcoin position was getting really big, and I only put in a little bit amount. So the size of that position at the time being a couple $1,000s, I was like, how did this even happen? Because I did not invest that much money into this. And so I'm back into the world of crypto. This is in March. This is right whenever like the injury happened and all that. I get back, I'm at home, I'm struggling, I can't walk, I'm in my bed. I'm like, what? Crypto, stocks, YouTube, watching TV, doing dumb shit all the time, right? So I'm looking at Bitcoin. And I'm watching this and I'm like, man, this is kind of cool. And I'm in this rabbit hole where I'm making videos about the stock market, but my attention is on crypto. And that's what I'm watching because it's happening so fast. I'm learning about altcoins. I'm learning about meme coins and microcaps and 4-year cycles and halvings and mining. And there's so much going on with it all. And then a day comes where a YouTuber that I was in competition with, his channel and my channel are about the exact same size. He made a video about something called SafeMoon, which was a meme coin, like a very risky small cryptocurrency in 2021. And his video got like 40,000 views. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I went and looked at SafeMoon's chart and it was still really low. I was like, what even is this? Like, how does this do this? But I was like, well, if he's talking about it, if people are looking it up, I'm just going to put some money into it. So I put like $1,000 into it, which was a super irrational thing to do. But I was I had been collecting unemployment previously because I couldn't work due to the pandemic and all that stuff. So I had some extra cash. So I put some money into this thing called SafeMoon. And it just like, it was, I had never even seen anything like this before. I think at the peak, I had like 70 grand in this. This is like early, if I remember correctly, it was like March, April, end of March, early April, somewhere in there, maybe mid April. I had like 60, $70,000 in this thing. And it immediately just collapsed all the way back down to like 20 or whatever, 15 or 10 or whatever. But I was like, okay, yep, that is obviously the place that I need to be. So I made a YouTube video about it. And I was like, it was like huge Safe Moon News or something like this. And that video got like 10,000 views. And I was averaging about 3,000 views at the time on YouTube. So I'm like, okay, well, that's obvious. Crypto is obvious. I'm more interested in crypto. Stock market is getting kind of boring. I'm more interested in crypto. I'm making more money in crypto, clearly. So I'm going to talk about crypto. So I just, on the drop of a dime, I just switched just like that. Boom. Making crypto content every day. I'm talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about meme coins. I'm talking about microcaps. I'm talking about this thing called SafeMoon, which turned out to be a really, really, really bad scammy thing. I had no idea. The red flags were there. I just didn't know what red flags to be looking for at the time. And everything changed for me. This was April of 2021. I started having videos that were popping up to 40 or 50,000 views. My YouTube channel, which was at 10,000 subscribers, jumped up to 30,000 subscribers, then to 40,000, then to 50,000, very fast. We're talking about in like 7 weeks, 8 weeks. My channel started absolutely exploding. And about 5 weeks later, I got a YouTube check for $30,000. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is even going on? I don't even understand how we got here, bro. What just happened? My crypto portfolio flying, stock market portfolio flying, YouTube check coming 30,000. I have like $80,000, like $90,000. I'm like, is this the moment? Like, is this the thing that I've been looking for? Is this the thing that I've been hoping for? Like, is this my time? I was like, well, I'm all in. Call up my mom. Hey, mom, I'm dropping out of college. Call up my dad. Hey, dad, I'm dropping out of college. Call my boss at work. Dad, or boss, dad, boss, I quit. It's like, I'm in. I still couldn't fight. I hadn't even gotten back to training yet because I was still in a cast for my leg, or a big brace for my leg. It's like, I'm not coming back. I'm not going back to college. I'm not going back to work because none of those things that I was doing could make me this much. There's no way, no chance. You know how much I was making like $1,500 a month at work, dude. That's like 2 years. It would take me. That's not true. That's like 15 months. What, you get the point, right? It would be forever, a year, 2 years before I made this money. I just made it in 30 days, and I was sitting down the whole time. And so that's when I went all in. I started learning about investing and like normal. I started really learning the principles of investing, actually how to invest. Because honestly, for the 3 years that I had been doing, 3/4, yeah, 3 years that I had been investing prior to this, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just buying things and never ever touching them. And I was dollar cost averaging, which is what I was doing. But I didn't really understand the basics of investing. I didn't understand the principles of it because, truth be told, think about what I've told you. My focus was on fighting, or my focus was on sales. I was not focused on this investment portfolio. I didn't care about it. I just wanted to make some extra money, and I thought that was the way to do it. I'm gonna collect these dividends and cool. Because I knew if I sold the crypto or sold the stock, sorry, I wouldn't get paid the dividends. So I'm not selling the stock. I just cared about the dividends. Or my crypto, I was like, well, it's not time for Bitcoin to be more valuable than the dollar, like the guy told me, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And I sold it a little bit here and there, but not much. And yeah, so I wasn't focused on investing. But now I'm like, I'm gonna focus on it. So I started down the typical rabbit hole, watching Andre Drick and Graham Stephan and Warren Buffett things and all this stuff, just learning about this whole world of investing and really focusing my time on it. And as I got to the end of the summer of 2021, I mean, things were really crazy for me. I had slowly trickled back into fighting, but I couldn't even care less about fighting at this point. I had, in April I made 30 grand. In May I made like 20 grand. In June and July, I maybe made 8 grand and 8 grand because the crypto market started to fall in those months. And I was on top of the world. Like, I've really got this all figured out. And then that's when the humble pie came. Because in August of 2021, in September of 2021, the market was in a terrible spot. I mean, it was in an absolutely atrocious spot. The crypto market, you guys don't understand. It was bad. Like, people were like, people were confident that the bull market was over, the bear market was here, and that crypto was done, and that the run we had was only a flash in the pan. And I'm panicking because school just started, so I can't go back to school. I just quit my job. They're not going to let me back. And my revenue for August and September was like 4 grand, 3 grand. So I went from 30 to 20 to 8 to 4 to 3. And I'm like, I made a mistake. Now, the good part was I had like $100,000 at the time because I didn't really spend that much. I spent a little bit, but not super crazy. So I had money just in case I needed to go, pay my way back into college or whatever. But I'm like, dude, I just gave up scholarships for school, gave up a job that I like for this. Like, I need to figure this out. And I had to make a decision in this moment. Like, am I going to go back and actually chase down, or sorry, am I going to go back and am I going to actually like go back to what I was doing before? Am I going to chase down this dream that I had and try to regain what I previously had back in April? And I was like, look, if I can do it once, I can do it again. Like if I can make that sort of money from YouTube one time, I know I can do it again. I just need a better formula. So I started posting and trying new things. I'm leverage trading or more, it wasn't even really leverage trading. It was just day trading and swing trading and scalp trading. And this is like the summer of 2021. I'm having decent success there, right? I'm doing some trades. I'm investing. I'm learning how to take profits off of the table. I had basically stopped dealing with meme coins and microcaps after the whole Safe Moon thing happened because I'm like, that shit was a scam. Like this are probably all scams. So I was like, I'm not dealing with any of this. I'm just going to really invest in the basics and the principles. And so I did that in August. I did that in September. I did that until October. October and November of 2021 was a crazy time because the market came back. NFTs and Axie Infinity, NFT started gaining traction. Crypto gaming like Axie Infinity started gaining traction. Bitcoin rallied back up towards its all-time high. ETH was rallying. I mean, all of these cryptos were absolutely sending, guys. You just don't understand. It was crazy. November of 2021 was crazy. And what happened was that all of that work that I did in August and September, when I was gonna quit, I didn't quit. I doubled down. I got better. It compounded like insane. All those seeds that I planted over the end of the summer had absolutely sprouted. I went from having a 4K month in September to October having a 20K month. In November, I had a $100,000 month for the very first time. My YouTube channel was around 70,000 subscribers, if I remember correctly. And then December rolls around. The market's kind of neutraled out a little bit. People don't know if the bear market is here quite yet. I still made $80,000. And I mean, it was wild. Now, one mistake that I did make at that time was I spent a lot of that. So of the 100 grand that I made, I put a lot of it aside for taxes. I had a girlfriend at the time. We went to Los Angeles. I spent like $15,000 on it. I mean, it was a whole thing, right? So of that 180 I made, I probably only kept like 40 of it or 50 of it, to be honest. But I didn't even really care, and I still don't care because the memories I made were great, but also I learned a lot of lessons. And these lessons were going to be extremely important for the next chapter of my life. Because the next chapter following this was really rough. It was really rough. In November, I went through a breakup with the girl, which is fun. It was like right after we went to Los Angeles. I went through a breakup, and then like not too long later, like again about a month later, the crypto market started to slow down. Things started to get a little rough. They started to get a little ugly. In January is when bad stuff started. Like that's when crypto companies started collapsing. That's when things started to get really rough. And I started to panic a little bit, but not too bad, but a little bit because I'm like, dude, if I go back to 3,000 a month, I'm screwed because now I'm paying for an accountant. I'm paying for bookkeeping. I have these bills. I have all this shit. I have a house. I bought a house in November, by the way. I completely forgot to tell you that. I bought a house in November. So I'm like, I got a mortgage to pay and I got bills to pay. Like I got stuff. I can't go down to 3,000 a month. I'm spending 4K a month. Like I can't go back down that low. So I'm kind of panicking a little bit, but I was confident in this panic though, because I was like, well, I did it once. I did it twice, so I can do it again. And the bear market came. And if you don't know what a bear market is a period in time in which the crypto market is terrible. I mean, really bad, dude. Really terrible. And did it get terrible? We started to see major institutions collapsing. We started to see major companies collapsing. We started to see huge income protocols start to get exposed to being frauds. I lost like $25,000 in one day when something called Anchor Protocol went down in 2022. I mean, it was terrible. My revenue dropped to like $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month. Mind you, after taxes, I'm only keeping $4,000 of that. I'm paying $4,000, so I'm breaking even every month. I'm trying to figure this out, but like I'm barely just keeping my head above the water, just struggling to figure it out, but confident, like, hey, I can do this. And so I struggled for about 2 months. And then going into March of 2022, I kind of just went into a lock-in mode, right? I was like, well, I'm quite confident that I can figure this out if I get it all together. And so in March, I stopped feeling bad for myself. I stopped panicking. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? And I was like, well, there's a couple things that I can do. Do more YouTube. I need to fight again. It's like if I fight, I can make some money and that'll keep me afloat. And I need to get better at my trading. Like, because I was like, the trading is where I made really good money in 2021. I was like, if I double down into trading right now that the market's somewhat stabilized, I can probably do good. So I started short trading the market, which is when I'm betting that the market's going to go down, making some decent money from doing that. I started making more YouTube videos again. Now I'm doing these different series and live streams and stuff. So my revenue started to tick up a little bit, get some sponsors coming in and stuff like that. My investment portfolio, although it fell, it was still doing okay, right? It was still doing all right. And I took another fight in April of 2022 against a guy named Elijah Brantley. So over the next like 8 weeks, from the very beginning of March to the end of April, I kind of got back locked back in. I won that fight, made some really good money from that fight. My trading was doing good because I was shorting the market. I was shorting Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically. My investment portfolio was doing good because I was taking the money I was making from that and investing money back into Bitcoin in my stock portfolio or whatever it may be. And I was kind of in a pretty solid spot going into May of 2022 throughout the rest of the year. Now, the rest of the year was chaos. But the May to like November specifically scene was chaos, like the most amount of chaos. And the reason why was because towards the end of 2022, the FTX crash happened. And that was when one of the biggest exchanges in the entire world absolutely collapsed. Just like that. Done, dusted, gone forever. Sam Bankman Fried is a scammer. Everyone's calling crypto a scam. It was a rough, rough time. And at that period in time, although I had started to gain some traction end of November, this kind of crushed it for a second because now my YouTube channel just fell again. Like people just left crypto at mass. So my YouTube channel fell again. I took another freaking injury from fighting. I tore my knee again, so I couldn't fight. I couldn't work. My YouTube views are down. My trades got demolished because I was actually I was wrong. I was just wrong about the direction that the market was going to go in. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to happen. So my trades weren't going super great. My investment portfolio was down, and I had a moment where I was like, all right, what am I going to do here? And I knew what to do. So at this point, I had done this so many times. I had been in this rough spot so many times. I was like, I just got to go for it. I was like, but how am I going to do this? What am I going to do to like to do it differently this time? I was like, all right, I know I need to make more videos. I need to get my trading shit together. I can't fight. I need to do something different. Like I need to do something that's going to kind of stimulate this a little bit more. And I had an idea. I was like, well, you know how every time like a company comes to me and they want to sponsor my channel, I'm telling this to my now wife, by the way. I had a girlfriend again. I'm like, you know how when like people try to sponsor my channel, sometimes I'll like send them over to my friend's channel so they can buy sponsors from my friends. What if I made that like a little business? Like, what if I did this thing where I get a sponsor, I push them to my friend, they buy a video from my friend, and I get paid from it. So now I got this little hustle going on to where I can make money from my sponsors, I can make money from my friends, and I'm making some extra cash right now. And she's like, yeah, sure. She don't know what the hell because I'm like frantically drawing on this whiteboard, like, yeah, and like I did this and that. And my wife's like, yeah, yeah. Or my girlfriend at the time, she's like, yeah, sure, whatever, bro. Like, go ahead. Right. And I'm like, I'm all in on this idea. And so for the next 8 weeks, while the market's kind of starting to try to recover a little bit from the November situation, the FTX crash, I was going ham on this agency. I called it the HGA. It was the Hill Growth Agency at the time. And my focus on the Hill Growth Agency was just to try to build up as much of a network as possible of YouTubers, other creators, and to tell people like, hey, if you need YouTubers, just come to me, bro. Like, I got you. You don't even have to buy a video from me. You don't have to sponsor my channel, but if you need anyone, just let me know. I have access to them. And so I'm learning branding and I'm learning scaling and I'm learning how to run an actual business because at this point, I really never ran a business. My trading wasn't a business. My YouTube channel wasn't a real business. Neither was, you know, selling candy or the spray paint things. I never treated them like businesses. They were hobbies that I monetized, right? But this I was looking at as a real business. So I'm taking these little workshops and courses and classes on how to build a business, on how to grow and stuff like that. And it was actually doing pretty decent. Going into 2023, the market started to recover a little bit. My investment portfolio was making a lot of gains. I like already starting to see some really good growth. I'm trading at the time. I'm making money from that. My YouTube channel itself was looking pretty decent. And I'm taking that money and I'm investing it either back into my investment portfolio or I'm investing that money back into my business. I'm like, okay, I need to buy this thing. I need to buy a website. I need to buy Instagram stuff. I needed to buy stuff. I thought like I needed to just spend as much money on this business as possible, which I didn't need to, but I was learning lessons at the time, right? And so going into 2023, the beginning of 2023, my business started to do decent. January of 2023, I made like $900. February, I made like $800. Then March, I made like $3,000. And I was like, oh, snap. And at the time in March of 2023, I met a couple people. I met a guy who I brought into the business. One of my best friends, Connor Kinney, he also came into the business. And so now we had a thing like we're making money. We got friends involved. I mean, we were a little group. We were a trio. I mean, it was really damn cool. And this continued on throughout all of 2023, basically, because if you look back at 2023, although we were in a bear market in crypto prices were moving upwards. Like things were actually looking pretty decent. Boring, but decent. And so I'm making money, and I've now at HGA, it's making like 8 grand a month at this point, 10 grand a month. We're gaining traction, we're getting clients, we're building momentum. My YouTube channel is at like 80,000 subscribers. So it slowed down, didn't care. I didn't even care about YouTube, dude. In 2023, I literally barely posted on YouTube. I was like, I don't care about YouTube. This whole business thing is way cooler, which was a mistake, but whatever. This whole YouTube thing is much cooler. I did have a fight in 2023, but even that fight was like, don't care, couldn't care less, not worried about this. Like, I fought, I won, cool, don't care. I care about this whole business thing. So I'm all in. I'm making, or we're making 8 grand a month, 9 grand a month, 10 grand a month. And come the end of 2023, we're actually gaining some decent traction. People are starting to know about who we are. They're starting to figure out like what we do, how we can help them with their creators and their clients and stuff like that. We're going up to 15K a month, 20K a month. And going into January of 2024, we had some real traction under our hands. Like or on our feet. We had some real good traction. And there was 3 or 4 of us at the time. So I was only making like 4 grand or 5 grand a month from this. When, mind you, in 2023, I was making like 15 grand a month total. So this was only a third of my income. I had more of my income coming from YouTube and sponsorships and stuff like that because I still posted. I just didn't post often, but I was really focused on this thing. And in 2024, I sat down whenever I did my yearly goals and I was like, what do I want this year? And I was like, all right, I have 2 main goals. I'm going to get my YouTube channel back going because I made a mistake last year of not posting enough, but I'm going to take the HGA, sorry. I'm going to take the HGA, my company, as far as possible. And boy, did we take it far. Another one of my friends joined the company who brought a lot of opportunities to us. And next thing you know, by February, just 8 weeks later, we're having $30,000 months, $40,000 months. We are really growing. We're really catching momentum. Come May, we're going out to conferences and stuff out in Dubai. And like people kind of are starting to recognize us and hear about us, know who we are. We had $60,000 months, $80,000 months. Come July, I've also now started to post a decent amount on my channel, on my YouTube channel. So like I'm catching some traction there. So I'm maybe getting paid $15,000 a month from Fluence. I'm making decent money from trading. My investing portfolio is still growing. I never really ever sold that much of my investing portfolio ever. So I've never made a lot of money from my investing portfolio and cash flow. Just my net worth grew a lot there. But I'm still trading, and I had been trading a good bit the whole last year and a half, just not that much. But I'm still trading and making money from that. My YouTube channel is doing decently and making money from that. Making about $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month every single month consistently, which wasn't bad considering the market wasn't in a great place. Like, yeah, 2023 and 2024 was positive. It was green, but it wasn't super good. It was still pretty dead and quiet. No one was really all that excited. Well, come 2024 summertime, things did start to slow down a little bit. The markets kind of slowed down. Bitcoin's price pulled back. And around this time, I had just recently got engaged to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. And I was kind of away. I was traveling a little bit. So the summertime of 2024 was a little quiet, a little bit slow. But boy, oh boy, was October crazy. Going into October, November, December, the crypto market started to gain some traction. XRP's price started flying. My YouTube channel started gaining traction because I was posting every single day. My trades were printing tens of thousands of dollars a month. My YouTube channel was making tens of thousands of dollars a month. Fluence had multiple $100,000 months back to back to back. We're talking 100,000, 200,000, 150,000 back to back to back to back. And really, the traction was gained from there. And going into 2025, which is, of course, the year that I'm recording this, we were on fire. I mean, people started to know who the HGA was. We rebranded from the HGA to the company now, which is called Fluence. And I mean, man, things were absolutely fantastic. And throughout the year of 2025, it's by far been the best year of my life. I'm not going to give you the month-to-month breakdown here because it was all very the same. But what ended up happening throughout most of 2025 is I kept posting on YouTube, trying new things, growing my channel. I'm now near 140,000 subscribers. So I got about 50,000 subscribers just from last year. Fluence has now become a multiple 7-figure company. I mean, we all have months, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. We've done that multiple times at this point. And people know who we are. We're going to conferences. We're being invited to events. And yeah, and I guess fast forward to today, life is good. I'm still able to generate anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 a month now because of the investments that I made back in the day. I'm finally taking profits off of them. I have a crypto portfolio that has gained a lot of momentum because I didn't really sell much up until this year. This year I've started to sell. I have real estate investments. I've started to diversify. I became a millionaire about a year ago, and now that's gained some traction as well. I got married back in March. And it's been good. I'd say every year I'm generating anywhere from $1 million to $2 million on average. And yeah, I've been able to make $5 million since that day in the dish pit. And so It's been a crazy journey. And I'm sorry that I kind of went super deep into each month, but I thought like it would be really cool for you to see how the progression went because it was so good some days and months and so terrible other days and months. And it's been a wild journey. And I guess kind of going forward now that I've made millions of dollars and I'm married and I've traveled a lot of the world. I've seen a lot of places in the world now at this point. I've done that. I've come to realize that values change and things change and the things that I used to be ambitious about are not the same anymore. But one thing that I will always say is that I value the fact that in the earliest days, when I first started, one of the most important things that I did was simply just be willing to commit to myself when things got rough and things got bad. How many times in this video have you heard me say things got bad, things got rough, but I didn't quit, I kept going? That's really what got me to this point because a lot of people will say Tyler got lucky, and I've seen this in the comment sections. Tyler got lucky, he had good timing, blah, blah, blah. But the truth be told is I was just dumb. And I was so dumb that I was so determined that I was dumb. Like the odds were stacked against me. I knew it wasn't a good idea, but I just did it anyway because I'm so determined and so committed to myself and so committed to this vision of myself that I had in my brain that, like, you know what? If I just stick to it, even though shit is hard and things are terrible, I can really make something of myself. And I think the biggest thing that I want to make it clear and that I was hoping was kind of conveyed through this video is that I'm not special. Nothing that I said here was talent. Nothing that I said here was me being special, having a special advantage. My parents, I don't come from money. I came from middle class, like about as middle class as possible, which is great, but it's not a huge advantage. Like I'm just a normal guy, but I'm a guy who was so committed and so willing to chase down success and greatness or whatever it may be from very early days and compounded that with time and investment and commitment during those rough times. That's who I am today. So that's the story. I have a lot more that I want to share, but I just did notice that I'm almost an hour in now. So I'm just going to cut it there. But I do want to talk about this more. I do want to share more. I do want to give you guys more. One thing I will say is that if you have watched this far into this video, you're awesome, first of all. But second of all, I have a YouTube channel linked down below. It's called Tyler Hill Unlocked, in which I'm documenting the journey now. I wish I would have documented this whole journey, but it's, better late than never. I'm documenting the journey, doing vlogs and day in the life and stuff like that. So you can see what I'm doing behind the scenes. Head to that link down below. Go check out the second YouTube channel. I appreciate you tuning in and kind of just hearing my story, hearing me out and what I've done. And yeah, I'll see you all soon.